and welcome to episode 2 of the Fit Dads podcast. This episode is all about Brad. I'm going to be asking Brad some questions. We're going to get to know Brad a little bit better. These are going to be questions about his personal life, about his professional life, about being a parent, about being, a coach, a trainer, someone who's in the industry and enjoys being in shape. I've got 8 different questions I'm going to ask Brad today. He's got a few answers lined up, and let's get to know Brad Thompson a little bit better today. So my first question of Brad is, name Brad Thompson, or describe Brad Thompson, should I say, in 3 words.
I've tried to combine this with how I'd probably describe myself and how sort of other people would hopefully describe myself. So first word I put is daft, in terms that I'm a bit silly, especially when I'm with my boy. Like, I'm very playful with my little lad. Kind. I'm hoping other people see me in that way. To the point where people said, "Oh, you're a bit too kind sometimes." Which
I can concur with that. I mean, I've only known you for a short period of time, but you're a nice chap for sure.
Yeah. And then I think the third word is curious, and I'm gonna probably elaborate on that a little bit later. But curious. I've got quite a curious mind. I like to ask a lot of questions and understand a lot of stuff.
Fantastic. Number 2. Tell us your most embarrassing parenting story.
Probably similar to what you did. I concurred with my other half with this.
Okay.
I said to Amy, I'm like, right, what can we share? Is this okay?
Yeah, what's allowed?
And one thing that came up was we were on holiday in Cornwall year before.
Yeah.
And we had the worst punami I've ever seen. Like, horrendous, to the point where we was away with the in-laws, and I've never seen that much feces in my life.
Oh God.
I'll confirm this was my child, not me or my wife. But yeah, Ted had I think it caught us by surprise, because we sort of thought, we've just changed him, we've been on the road for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then this overwhelming smell to the point where we were gipping, and we're in a convoy as well, so we're like, we're gonna have to pull over.
So who was in the convoy?
My in-laws. So like, as soon as we pulled over, I think they knew something was wrong.
Right.
And as they sort of turned around and pulled in behind us, they could see me just like holding Teddy out like Simba. Like, you are staying there now. And I think everyone driving past they gave us a little nod, like, okay.
Really? Okay. We'll stay at this. Let them tackle it, and then we'll get involved.
Yeah. So no, we obviously had to strip all the car seat and everything, and not embarrassing as such, but I don't know. It's more
embarrassing though. It's got, when you're on the side of the road and you're kind of cleaning shit, for lack of a better term, out their kind of car seat. It is embarrassing as a parent. It's something that at some point it's going to happen, but when it does happen, it's just a whole heap of shame, isn't it? Especially when it's in public. In the house, it's fine. You don't mind cleaning it up. It's when it's out in public, and unfortunately, you've got no say as to when those things happen.
No, Amy's nan was in the car as well, so we did point a finger. We were like,
okay.
Is this yeah, it's Ted. Yeah, it's Ted. That's fine. So sorry, Shirley. Sorry, Shirley.
Is she of an age where that could potentially be an issue?
No comment.
Okay, let's hold it there. Brad, my next question is, who is your hero?
I've put 2 people for this. I spoke to you briefly the other day about my dad, who's not with us anymore. But my dad was wicked. Like, really, really good. To the point where, when he did pass on, it made it even harder, just because he was the number one bloke in my life. To the point where, I modelled a lot of what I did on him, because he was so honest. He was a big, strong guy, bricklayer. So he had really, his hands were massive. Huge hands, big personality, and he was sort of everything I always wanted to be. So amazing. When he did pass away, it was tough, but it probably made me realise to see him go the way that he did, which I'm sure I'll go into detail a little bit more. Okay. Potentially in future episodes.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really, really hard to watch, but he stayed pretty strong throughout, which were nice. And on a less sombre note, my other one's actually my old karate sensei, so something that
Awesome.
Yeah, a guy called Terry Noble, who I hope he hears this actually, because I've not spoken to him for a while. Okay. But I don't think he really realises the impact that he had on my life as sort of, again, a role model. Very similar to my dad in a way. Again, tall, strong bloke, deep voice, just very physically impressive as well. Incredible frame, incredible discipline to his craft, and he sort of taught. He was the first person to introduce me to coaching as well. Wow. So I will say that. Yeah,
brilliant.
At 8 years old. Yeah. So that was cool.
I have this thought a lot actually about how a lot of the coaching styles I have now, and even little things that I say sometimes in sessions, I know are things that other coaches used to say when I was getting taught by them.
Yeah.
And I think any coach, to a certain degree, is a product of the coaching they've had themselves.
100%.
And that's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly sometimes. Like, you know, I've had moments in sessions where I've said something, I'm like, God, I sound like Gaffer from when I was like, you know, 'cause a lot of my coaches were football coaches, being in the kind of that realm when I was younger. And I'll say things now, and I'm like, God, that was exactly what Gaffer used to say when we were doing like those sprints or something. And it's amazing how much you pick up, and you don't always notice at the time when you're younger, but that subconscious mind is picking those little details up of things you've had said to you, and you regurgitate those things to clients.
Yeah.
So totally concur there.
To be fair to Terry as well, one of the key things he used to say is you get out what you put in. And in terms of effort, I can think of many scenarios where that's not the case. But in terms of effort, it was like, listen, you can always control your effort, how hard you work, your attitude. So I think Jordan Webster said it quite well in his recent post. I think he put across post like 10 things that don't require talent. Okay. And a few of them are like turning up on time, effort, you know, being prepared, getting your kit all ready the night before, that sort of stuff. And that stuff really resonates with me. It's like doing the basics really well. And Terry did really establish that in me.
Yeah. Preparation. What's the cliche saying? It's fail to prepare to fail. Yeah, for sure. Like that one. All right. Question number 4. What is your biggest ick in the fitness industry? Something you really hate, or just makes you feel a bit uncomfortable. You know, it's a big phrase now. It's icky feeling, isn't it? You know. So I'd love to know that.
I briefly mentioned this to you earlier, but I wrote a few things down. So I'm just going to choose one, however. So for me, the biggest ick is probably the relentless marketing push on aesthetics a lot of the time. And I think that was one thing when you approached me about doing this podcast. I really resonate with your philosophy in terms of, listen, it's not all about that. It's how you feel, what your energy level's like. So when I sort of see everyone sort of falling into a mold, thinking like to be successful in this fitness industry, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And the truth is you don't. I know many coaches who do things very unconventionally. Some coaches are even introverted, and they're extremely successful at what they do, just because of their ability to problem solve for their clients and understand it. So very much, I suppose it's the reputation that the fitness industry has of, again, that relentless push on aesthetics alone.
Yeah, I think it's tricky from a coaching point of view, because we live in a visual world, especially with social media nowadays, and trying to get across in a visual that someone's improved their energy levels, their sleep, their sex drive's better, their hormones are firing more, their metabolism is stronger. How do you visually show that in someone? It's very difficult, isn't it? Apart from someone with a sad face and a happy face afterwards, whereas a transformation is so visually appealing, isn't it? And
definitely,
I think clients to a certain degree can be quite fickle in what they want sometimes. They see that and go, wow, I would love to look like that. That's really cool. I think I'd have all the confidence in the world if I just had that 6-pack or those pecs or those bigger arms or that bigger bum. And what they don't appreciate is actually the foundations are what we value the most, which is the inside, how you're performing. When you perform right, you look right. And any transformation I've posted online in the past is kind of just the tip of the iceberg. It's the real cherry on top, and it's really nice to get that. It's really nice to have people at that point where they look visually amazing. But some people have fantastic transformations in their personal life. They just don't have that, unfortunately, that cherry on top, which is maybe the transformation. And it doesn't mean that the program's not been successful based on how they visually look. It just means that that's something down the line they may strive towards, but also some clients actually don't want that. And I'm not sure what you're like, but I have clients who come and say, I genuinely don't want a 6-pack. It's not in my kind of realm of desires. I just want to feel better in myself.
Genuinely, I have people, I've lost count of the amount of people who've said that. Like, I've come to you because you're not like other coaches. You don't come across a certain way. You don't post certain things, and that sort of sticks with me. I'm like, if it happens once, you know, it's what it is. If it happens twice, it could be a coincidence, but the fact that it keeps happening, and that seems to be a bit of an audience for me, the people who don't really resonate with like the before and after, should we say. And for me, like, I have the before and afters, but I choose not to use them, and that's just my choice. You know, I don't belittle anyone who does use them, because I think it's a great tool. It's a great visual demonstration of how hard someone's worked. But yeah, in truth, I've just tried to just steer clear from it.
Yeah.
For the reason that I think my side of things was really to not catch people at the lowest. I want those people who want to be proactive. So the people I work with, sometimes something's happened in their life, whether it's their own health concerns, whether it's a loved one who's had a health concern, and that's triggered them to be proactive rather than reactive, if you like.
Yeah. And I think it's also knowing your demographic. Like a lot of our demographic now is, like I said, parents, professionals, people who are just stuck in a way of living that they want to get out of, and it's systems, structures, routine. That is priority for them. And you know, I'm sure you've had it many times down the line where those people get the six-pack and they absolutely love it and it's great. And they're really proud of that. But it shouldn't always be the number one goal. And if it is the number one goal, actually, when someone comes onto the program and sits in a consultation with you, immediately, like, red lights should be flashing for me. And I then start probing deeper and asking questions of, like, well, what's the six-pack going to do for you? Why will it make you feel happier? And then we go down the kind of sometimes quite a treacherous road in terms of delving into their past and their history. And you know, sometimes it's normally because the amount of times actually I've said that to people and their response is, honestly, I had a breakup, or I saw a friend who I haven't spoken to for a while. We've got a bit of a tiff at the moment, and they've been getting into the gym and doing this. It's usually like some kind of, I don't want to use the word like revenge, but some kind of, I'm struggling to kind of explain it in terms of
again it's reactive, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
reactive, that's right.
And
I think it can be a slippery slope, that or even just aspiring to be like people online, like who are in the top 0.0001% of people in the world who just genetically probably could eat pizza all day and still have abs. You're trying to look like those people, and they're just not, it's not realistic. And to get there and for it to be achievable, you quickly realise, as I'm sure you've experienced in the past, that it's not sustainable. Like, you get there, and actually once you have that six-pack, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, you're the most unhappiest you've ever been in your life. You feel tired, fatigued, short-tempered with people. You know, you're hangry, they call it nowadays, don't you? Hungry and angry. It's just not sustainable. So it's about getting that idea across to clients sometimes when they come to you with those goals.
And it's a massive rabbit hole, and I think it's something that we'll no doubt talk more and more about in future episodes, because it is quite a loaded topic, and there's a lot of emotion tied behind it. And so that's for me, it sort of makes me not curl up a little bit inside when I see that relentless push about it, especially when there's maybe people out there who that's all they focus on. They've not got the similar mindset to what you have, for example, who just are deeper with it. They understand the basics and the foundations of what they need to do. For sure. Good answer.
Brad, why did you become a personal trainer and a coach?
I mentioned when I was younger, Terry Noble, my old karate instructor, probably through him, to be honest. He was the one who he really introduced me to the feeling of coaching, of like being in front of people, of again showcasing your skills in a way and helping people and giving that feeling. I've been coached since I was 8 years old, purely because I had a lot of energy to burn. So my parents sort of pushed me into that.
Active kid.
So they sort of sent me into something that would have calmed me down, a lot of repetition, a lot of skill mastery. So it was quite nice to sort of go down that route. But no, in truth, for myself, to the point where one of my other roles is I train PTs how to be PTs. I'm an endpoint assessor, so I will literally go in and give people a thumbs up or the thumbs down and give people that coaching afterwards. And the feeling that I get from giving somebody a great workout to giving them a potential new career is massive. So that, for me, is why coaching's so impactful and so powerful. To not just coach clients, but also to coach other coaches is a whole new level of, like, I'm improving the industry. What I pass on to these new coaches can potentially shape the industry, and that's quite responsibility, actually, isn't it? In terms of these companies who employ people to take their courses and dictate what happens on them.
it's a lot of responsibility for them to get the right people coaching other coaches. And I'll definitely say they've got the right man for the job in you, mate. So, yeah, really good. Good answer. All right, let's go on to your next one. So, bit of a left field on this one. You're stranded on a desert island. You can have one piece of gym equipment and one meal. What are you choosing?
When I was thinking about this, I got far too passionate about it.
Okay.
Because I started asking stipulations. So the short answer is barbell for gym kit, food, Sunday dinner. I'll be honest. I had one yesterday. It's Monday, so recording. Which, and honestly, I feel like I could eat that every day. You know, covers all your bases. But as far as a barbell, that one question I'm going to ask you is barbell, as in just the barbell, count as one piece of kit, or are we talking
tricky,
plates,
isn't it?
clips?
I mean, it's an open-ended question.
Yeah, which I do think I've got a comeback. Just in case you say, right, Brad, you've got just a bar. All right, you're not allowed any weights or anything. It's fine by me, mate. I live off the land. I'm going to create some buckets. I'm going to get my own little bench set up. So yeah, we're
You've always started thinking down the line logistically. If you haven't got plates, how are you going to load that barbell up?
Yeah,
love that. Thinking like a true coach. Already.
This is it. Resourceful.
Once a coach, always a coach. But no, let's say you can have plates, you can have barbells, you can have anything. You can have maybe a combination of things that go together.
Yeah.
Would it be barbell and plates?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think you'd be stupid not to. I mean, the diversity in that is pretty big. Leg extension probably wouldn't be your first choice unless you want massive quads.
You can do hip thrusts on it, I suppose.
Yeah, true. Good for you. Again, the coach being a coach.
Curls, this is it. You can do single leg.
Unbelievable. And yeah, so you're having your Sunday roast as well.
Sunday roast, gotta be
proper Yorkshireman.
True
Yorkshire puddings on there as well.
Yeah,
of
always.
course,
I don't know.
All the trimmings.
Do I get these homemade, or does some? Do I get Aunt Bessie's? Just somebody drops them in.
I haven't thought of the logistics of that either. But let's just go barbell and plates on Sunday roast.
Winner.
Good answer. What's the most important lesson you want to instill in your son?
See, I got really passionate about this one because from the moment that our son was born, we wanted to set an example. And I mentioned that we're going to talk about curiosity a little bit more. I want Ted to be really curious. I want him to be inquisitive about how the world works and what he's interested in, why he's interested in it, and just try and understand himself quite well. Because everybody's different, and from some of the struggles that I've seen people have, it comes from maybe not understanding themselves or not understanding a structure, a process, or... Yeah, so I do think if you can be curious, if you can ask a curious question, I think you will become curious, and that is the point. You know, it makes you quite an interesting person as well. Like if I ask a curious question, all of a sudden you become interested in what that person has to say because you've asked the question, and that's how you learn. So by curiosity and encouraging Ted to be curious, he will learn, and he'll learn about social dynamics, everything he wants to learn about.
Yeah. I think it's a great way of looking at it, because being curious is not only benefiting you, but it actually benefits your relationships and who you draw in and who you push away as well, actually. I read a fantastic book, I'm not sure if you read it, it's a really old one, it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that book, for me, the one thing I took from that is definitely ask questions. Be interested in people, be attentive. And it's amazing how the response from people when you show interest in them is really positive. So curiosity and feeding that into kids from an early age, it is massive, I think. And
even now we're at the stage of why daddy, why is that,
oh gosh,
it's happening.
It's tough, isn't it, because you want to promote that, but you also draw in that, like when you're having your hard days and your work's tough, and you're kind of a little bit tetchy, and he starts going with the why and the curiosity, and why did I instill the curiosity trait?
To the point where he asked the other day about the sea and like why waves are there. Okay. Within 5 whys, we'd got talking about black holes, and I'm like, my wife's like,
black holes in 5 questions. I think I struggled to get there in 5 questions.
Yeah, my wife's just like, Brad, you need to just know when to call it a day. But he's curious. He wants to know. Which is
I love that, and you're obviously good at entertaining him. So, but
we try and be daft.
All right, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to fitting in training around family life?
I think it's knowing that plans can change quite rapidly. So if you are someone listening and watching who has that rigidity to their lifestyle, probably similar to what I did, to be fair. When you do have a child, you have to really be quite dynamic in your willingness to adapt and your willingness to not quite put yourself to the bottom of the pile, but to be resourceful and think, right, those 5 sessions that I planned this week, they're not happening. I can do 3. So what's got to drop off the program? What are the little like single joint movements that I can maybe get rid of, and just prioritize the big multi-joint movements? And that took some getting used to. Still making time for yourself, but I'd never really felt the guilt, if that makes sense. If I'm spending time on myself, I know that I'm doing it, so I'm not serving from an empty vessel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, where we can. There's an old aeroplane analogy about put your own oxygen mask on before you help others. Yeah. And that's exactly the same as what
Absolutely.
I try and keep
Great
in mind.
analogy. I really like that.
Even if it's just 2 sessions a week for me, like if we have a massive family emergency, I'm not prioritizing training. Like I need to make sure my family's okay, but I'll still make sure that I can get it where I can, just because I need to be at my best.
Yeah. There's always something down the line in the week where you can make up time.
100%.
And I think it's not writing the week off completely because it hasn't gone to plan.
No.
And it's a big issue with people who start this time of year, actually in January, where they want things to be perfect. They want to have a good 2-3 months of solid workouts, everything going to plan. And all it takes is one night out a weekend, and people just suddenly think, oh, I'm back to my old ways, and they slip very quickly back into that. But our role is to promote both sides of the story. It's the healthy lifestyle with a sustainable lifestyle, and feeding both sides. And I think that's a great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it's something again that we're going to talk about a lot more on the podcast in future episodes. It's the what I call the red light, green light syndrome, where people are either green light, all systems a go, everything's all kind of fine and dandy, or it's red light where they're just completely static, if not regressing. And we want to find that nice middle ground, the amber ground, where you can have your downtime, you can spend time with your family, you can even have a night out at weekend, who cares, bit of shit food. But alongside that, what are you doing to push yourself forwards and stick to some kind of routine and structure? And I think in everyone's mind, training 4 or 5 times a week is the gold standard. Anything below that is just subpar. When really it's not subpar. Is not the right word. It's just out of routine slightly. And being a parent, you have to adapt at short notice. It's so important, I think.
100%. To the point where I've got my shoes laced up, stepped outside the door. Right, Ted needs seen to. Okay, I'm going to shelve that run for a little bit, and then you have to come back inside. But yeah, in terms of the all or nothing, I think that is something to stress quite a lot. I saw a video a couple of weeks ago where a guy dropped a plate and it smashed. And he proceeded to grab every other plate and just smash them all. And that's the comparison between all or nothing. Just because one plate smashed. Yeah. Just look at it, think, was it an accident? Were my hands greasy? Why did it fall?
Absolutely.
And then analyse it rather than just smashing every other plate.
Yeah. It reminds me of an old analogy that I've not used for a long time, actually, about car tyres. Like if you are on the motorway and you have a flat tyre, you pull up to the side, you call the A guy. You don't slash all 4 tyres. You've got one flat tyre. Yeah. You get the guy to sort that one out, and then you're back on your way.
Like that.
That's exactly what hurdles and obstacles in your week are like. You get one flat tyre, you deal with that situation, and you carry on moving. There might be another flat tyre in the week, but you're going to try and keep moving forwards at all costs with with a good plan and the help of the people. So, good answer.
Like that.
We've come to the end of your 8 questions, mate. I'm hoping the guests have got to know you a little bit better. I definitely have, for sure. So thank you for putting together some fantastic answers. Our next episode will be, dauntingly, all about me. So Brad's got some questions for me. I'm going to do my best to answer those. And thank you, Brad, for answering my questions today. It's really good of you.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you for being kind and not throwing me under the bus with...
Could have easily thrown you some suspect curveball questions there, but...
Wait for yours.
All right, maybe I'll have to add another one in now before we leave. Guys, thank you for joining us on episode 2 of the Fit Dads podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers. Bye.